Hey, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. How are you guys doing? Hope everybody that does Thanksgiving had a good Thanksgiving. We just went out to the restaurant to eat, but it was cool. So, Chanty Moody's in, Jumping Ship, Shari D, welcome. Sapioid, Life Matrix is in. How are you doing? Mandanimal is in. Linda Lava Lamp, Angels Don't Fall. I think that's everybody. I got a whole 2 hours notice in this time before the show, so kind of a record for me for a while. Yeah, everybody expects me to be 2 minutes late, so what a moronic world. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. It's a clown world, you know. It's like speaking of the devil, there's just some of this stuff is weirder than others, but so it hasn't been a super busy week for Mandelas, but I did see some personal Mandelas, and I did. So one of them is just kind of a little silly thing, but the when I do the little coyote teeth that I sell and I drill them, that the top of them just change shape, and these are ones I bought. Like I buy huge batches of them, so I bought this batch like a year ago, and I've been using this batch for a year, and still it's all of them were the same like 2 weeks ago, and now on the top, the little piece on the top kind of has just a little up swoop now, and it used to be kind of flat. So it's weird. Also, the other thing about them is that it used to be when I drilled them sideways, they would always hold together. But now the smaller ones, if I drill them sideways, the small ones, they will break apart. So I've had to like stop drilling the small ones. I sell them whole, so I sell those small ones whole instead. But so just there's a little bit change in the structure of the coyote claws. The other thing I've noticed is they've definitely getting longer. There's coyote claws that are a lot longer than I ever saw before. So like everything, tails, ears, claws, teeth getting longer. But yeah, this shift, I noticed a lot of it in the last like few weeks, and that just yesterday I saw that little thing on the edge of on the top of the claw. So that would be the part that goes like up into the coyote's foot. Okay, so what did I see this week? For starters, I saw this exorbitant number of, in all different places, of animals swimming. Animals swim faster than you ever thought. This and that animal. Did you know it could swim? It actually swims really well. So I'm looking in the past, and the ones that I saw in the past, the oldest one I saw that could swim was polar bears. So that was like about maybe 10 years ago. They started saying, oh, polar bears are actually really good swimmer. They can swim a mile. Then it was they could swim 2 miles. Then it was they can swim 10 miles. So polar bears were like the starters. And then they had that island of pigs that swim. So they can swim pretty good. And I never heard of pig swimming, but they have the pig island or something. And then it was, I think even before the pigs, it was elephants. Oh, elephants can swim pretty good. Elephants can swim a mile. So now they're like really good swimmers. And then I think the most recent was eagles and hawks and birds can swim. And I had those on, and they're like swashing. Okay, so what are we at now? Crocodiles. Now, crocodiles, of course, could always swim, but they didn't used to swim like porpoises or something. I mean, they've gone next level suddenly. So the title was "Crocodiles Swim Way Faster Than You Thought." So how old am I? And I've never seen a crocodile swim this fast. It's crazy, but here we go. So they swim like dolphins now. They just cruise. So this guy's cruising on this boat, and here's this crocodile is just keeping right up. He's under there. See, he's going at the rate of the boat. He's right there. So yeah, crocodiles can haul, and I've never seen them move. So way back, they were even slow on land, and then they said they were pretty fast in the water, but they weren't like porpoises or something in the water. So in recent years, they've gotten longer legs, and they've gotten really quite fast on land, because my old guys, they would just kind of drag and crawl on land. They couldn't like lift their whole body up. like a lizard. But now they lift their whole body up and they can run like a lizard now does on land. So now they can swim, I guess, like porpoises in the sea. So those guys, and this is all in like the last 2 days I've run into all this stuff. Okay, so those guys are now Speedy Gonzalez. So now turtles. Okay, turtles, slow as a turtle, right? Yeah, not anymore. So I've already had on in the past that turtles could run fast on land, but apparently now they're like they can practically break the sound barrier on water too. So this guy, I think he's right in there. He is going to go so fast that it's like a fish. Let's see if we see him. Okay, this guy. So he's just gone. He's just, and I don't even think he's hitting full speed there. I think it's that guy. Let me go back a little bit. You know, and I've been in ponds with turtles, and I've never seen them move that fast. Sometimes they can slip off a rock pretty fast, but I've never seen them move as fast as like a fish. So it's this guy here. Hopefully you can see how fast he's moving. But yeah, I mean, not quite as fast as a fish, but it's pretty freaking fast. And I don't think we're really done seeing how fast these guys could go. Okay, so now those guys aren't super weird, but it does get weirder. I'm going to boost it up a notch here. The turtle beat the rock. You know, it's getting to that point now. And rabbits have gotten kind of stupid and slow too, so it's even sounding more like they could lose. I mean, the rabbits around here, they sit there like somebody fed them like some kind of sedative or something. They're just like, duh. Somebody's changed the speed setting. Yep. Yeah, they upgraded the Crocs. Okay, so yeah, I know. And you know, it's just such a classic Mandela. Like, I bet you didn't know. What did I say it was? They swim faster than you thought. Like, how did they know it was faster than you thought? Well, because everybody saw the old turtles, so they know, the Mandela knows that you've never seen them like that. Anyway, glad you could come, Shanti. Is it raccoon or raccoon with two C's? So now that was a tough one for me. I do have a vague recollection of there only being one C in raccoon, but for a really long time it's been two C's. But I remember thinking it was one, and then I kept getting spell checked on it, but that was quite some time ago. So I'm not going to swear on that one, but I did have it in my head that it was a one, but it's not like a kind of critter I used to type all the time, so that's why I'm like, yeah. Okay, for the McDonald's to McDonald's, that shift happened for me when I was a kid. So we're talking a long time ago. Do you recall a Burger King mascot character growing up? Burger King. I don't think so. I don't know. I wouldn't swear on that, but I don't really recall one offhand. Like a long time ago. So yeah, for Christmas for me, I put the laser lights up. I've got this tree that's like 2 stories high. It's a little bit higher than 2 stories, and I just shoot the laser lights. Laser lights are the great for the lazy person who wants, if you have a nice tree, you just plug it in near the tree and shine it up into the tree, and it is the super shizzle. And it just takes like, as long as it takes to like tie it onto the fence and then run a extension cord, and then you just have to program in when it goes off, and it goes off for you. They usually come with a timer on it. So these aren't the cheesy cheapo ones from Home Depot. I spent like $100 on it, but it's worth it, and you can use it year after year. Getting overpopulated with coyotes so much I'm double packing. Yeah, coyotes are heading up into Canada now. Um, I used to just think they were a very successful animal, but now that I look back on it, they started in the Southwest and pretty soon they were like everywhere. I've been needing to ask Eva why the title reads Wednesday instead of Thursday, when 12 o'clock marks the beginning of Thursday. We just start a bit late. I'm not. I just think of it as, first of all, did I always have it at midnight? I'm not sure if I always did. It was like sometime late on Wednesday. And for me, I just still think of it as Wednesday because it's Wednesday night. I mean, technically it's Thursday morning, but midnight, you'd think of it as the night of the day before. So that's pretty much why I do it. There's not really a good reason, but it seems weird to me to say 1 o'clock in the morning is actually the next day. It's still part of tonight. At least in my world. It's my birthday. Anyone else in December? Nope. I don't know anybody. Well, I do know one person. Well, no, that was October. No, I don't know anybody in December. Okay, so we got turtles. So, camels. Turns out camels are quite the little shizzlers. They can swim long distances. And now they even have a special breed of camel. Oh man, the computer's jamming. It was working great for like hours. All right, let's see if we get this straightened out. Yeah, okay. So they have a special breed of camel now. This is the Karai camel, a breed unique to this wedge of the world, named after the local word for salty. Its diet is dominated by the leaves of mangroves, salt-tolerant plants that, like the camels, straddle the line between terrestrial and marine. So they're saying they have... This just feels like another troll from the Mandela. You've got a desert animal designed for drought, and now they're saying that it straddles the line between terrestrial and marine. A camel is half marine. The animals munch mangroves and other salty fare along the mainland, but also regularly swim up to 3 or 4 kilometers into the Arabian Sea to access island groves. So, yeah. Now we've got the ocean camels. With bellies bulging after several days of feedings, the camels before us are now returning to the mainland to drink. Okay, so this is all these camels like scraping their butts back. There they are swimming. Yeah, but it's not just these Karai camels. All of them apparently can swim and quite well. Now, I wasn't able to get an exact distance on the rest of them, and I do suspect that the distance will be expanded. I mean, polar bears can swim for like days now, so I don't know where we're going to be in 5 years, but at the rate the Mandela's going, we're probably going to get camels that don't touch land for years or something ridiculous like that. Okay, so camels. I feel like that's a huge troll. They're desert creatures. Now they're like, come on. They turned into omnivores. They've got fangs. Now they swim the oceans, I mean, like, come on. All right, so now what else do we have that can swim? Kangaroos. Kangaroos have developed the ability to swim due to the adaptation over the years, defending themselves from predators. If a kangaroo is chased by a predator, it prefers to go into the water where it is nearly impossible for them to get caught. So, like, I just remember kangaroos running really fast, and they kick really hard, and they really didn't, I had to check this, but they really didn't have any predators above the dingoes in Australia before, and so they had a tough time running down kangaroos, and that was why kangaroos were sort of breeding like rats in Australia, and many of the species were getting quite overpopulated because there really wasn't predators. So I don't know what predators they adapted to run from that they had to go in the ocean, because dingoes can swim pretty good too. I mean, how good is a kangaroo swimming that he could beat a dingo in the water? The ability of the kangaroos to swim also had great effect on migration. The kangaroos subspecies are found on isolated islands, which is a very interesting subject of study. So they say that the kangaroos move like by dog paddling. So they're saying that when they swim, their back legs are independent, and that they have such huge back legs that they can kick really hard. Even young kangaroos show instinctive swimming capabilities in the water. They don't inhale water, and they keep their head above the surface to breathe. Kangaroos swim to get rid of itches and wounds. So I guess it kills ticks and stuff. So the female kangaroos with babies do not go swimming. So they don't want to drown their baby, I guess. However, they're saying that the pouches seem to be waterproof. When it comes out of the water, the baby was not even wet. Strong muscles in the kangaroo pouch seals it from getting water to enter. But this is only possible when the baby is younger than a certain age. Red kangaroos can swim. All right, so they can still get attacked by sharks and stuff. Yeah, that makes sense, but I don't know. So yeah, kangas, they can now swim. Let's see. I think there was one in here swimming. Here, this one. Let me make it larger. Turn off that baloney. So this is the head of a kangaroo here. It looks like they can haul butt pretty fast. Turn that off. I mean, he's like cruising. I don't want to too much because I might get I'm already walking on thin ice with the amount of video I've shown. But yeah, so like everything in its uncle can swim now, basically. Let's see, I got Crocs. I think I've got everybody now. Is there anything that can't swim? That's kind of the question. I think everybody can swim better than us now. Yes, a cartoon skinny redheaded king started maybe 1980s, none in 60s or 70s. Yeah, I remember that king. I just can't remember when that started. I mean, I don't remember it in my childhood, but I can't remember. But it's been a while. Definitely the Goofy King has been around. Male camels have this huge tongue-licking thing. Yeah, it's some kind of mating organ. I've had that on. It's so gross. And then they like spill all this scent gland garbage. I don't know. This timeline loves the gross slime exuding creatures. Camels are called desert ships now. They're real ships. Yes, apparently so. Oh yeah, let me do that. You know, I don't know where the default is for top chat to live chat. Like I looked when I was setting up this chat or when I was setting up this live stream, I looked for that. Like there might be an option for chat. So I don't know. Is there like an option for that somewhere else? Oh yeah, those little atrophied arms and the mega bottom, so seaworthy. Yeah, but look they were like cruising. I know. Yes, that's what I was thinking, Shari, and that is a very good observation. Emmy had to explain how there are now kangaroos in other places too. Yes. And it kind of makes sense now because you've got Papua New Guinea and stuff right there. But yeah. Of course, they've come up with lame baloney like floating rafts of debris or all kinds of crap too, so. Some sources say the new Rona is infectious but not deadly. Yeah, I don't know. I think we all knew that there was going to be another round of variants. It just has to happen. So apparently, this particular one was around for months already, and it has is not known to be like dangerous as far as a lot of symptoms. So I don't know. It's the way the world's going to spin is the way the world's going to spin. I'm not particularly worried about it, but there's going to be new variants, and they're going to spread, and that's just how viruses develop. So I do think it's pretty interesting. One thing that I don't know if you knew, but they're going along in the Greek alphabet, and actually they were supposed to be at the Greek letter Xi, Xi, but of course that is the name of the leader of China. And, of course, the virus supposedly maybe came from there. And so I just think it's pretty interesting that it just so happens that the new exciting variant was supposed to be named Xi, but then they decided to go up, skip that letter and go to Omicron or Omicron. I don't know. It's just like one of those little coincidence clown world things that I don't know. I think you just have to appreciate how silly they are. Or the camels now swim, and skunks have two stripes, and bats aren't blind, and it's just lemmings don't jump off cliffs. Everything is just goofy. I can barely swim. Well, you could learn. It's not that hard. I actually learned to swim mostly by myself. I just went to the area that was just a few inches deeper than me, and I just clung to the edge, and I learned to dog paddle, because you can just sit right by the edge there and just practice, and then just hold the side every time you try to start sinking. And if you do that about 3, 4 times, and you put in a goodly effort, like 3, 4 times in a row, you'll learn to dog paddle decently. And once you can dog paddle, then you can kind of stretch out and do more of a actual motion swimming where you're swimming. And once you're dog paddle, then you feel safe because you can always dog paddle. Like, you can learn the other strokes, and if you choke on some water or it goes wrong, you can just go back to dog paddling and you're safe. So once you can learn to dog paddle, then that takes most of the fear out of it. At least when you're in a pool, there's no sharks or anything. So that's what I suggest to everybody. You don't have to do any fancy lessons. You just need to get in the pool and have it deep enough that it's just an inch or two deeper. You're right next to the side. If you sunk, you just bounce with your foot up those 2 inches and stick out your hand and grab the side. You're not far away from the side. And you can train yourself. Just look at the dog paddle motion, like online, because you really pretty much just have to kind of replicate that, and then just figure out, your body will figure out what holds you up after you try it for a while. I mean, most of the time, if you fell overboard or something, you're not going to swim all the way back to the mainland anyway. You just dog paddle until someone saved your butt. ME Sagittarius Arms Society. I'm a long-time subscriber. Wanted to thank you. Well, thank you. That's 1995. Wow. ME Sagittarius Arms Society. Is there such a society, or is that just your cool name? Because that would be cool. The old Sag arm. Yeah, I don't know. There's like a bunch of timelines from the Sag arm. What was the last thing? There's the Orion. There was the arm and the spur, and then I think it's called a bridge now. They're calling the Orion Bridge. So that's like the latest baloney for the galaxy, that we're on the Orion Bridge. Kind of an interesting concept, though. I mean, I wonder if there's any symbolic meaning to some of this stuff. It's crazy because the camel thing wasn't the case for me a few years ago. I've actually ridden male camels. So you're saying you're sure they didn't swim like a couple years ago? Because that's interesting, actually. I don't know. Some of these are like, yeah, maybe they always swam, but for 50 years I never heard of it. But still, it's pretty much of a stretch. I mean, if it wasn't for all the other Mandelas, I might just say that, but yeah. Shari says, I love swimming and I love water, but after Emmy going into the sea or ocean, even rivers, too dangerous. God knows what kind of animals. Yeah, I kind of know what you mean. And I feel that way about insects now because it's like there's a lot of insects that didn't used to bite, like, and spiders and stuff. And I would just take them and fling them out. But now I won't do it because, like, pincher bugs didn't used to bite. Like the earwigs, earwigs is the more common. We used to call them pincher bugs. Even though we called them pincher bugs, but they couldn't pinch a human. They were way too weak. But now they can draw blood. And I had seen that their pinchers look bigger, and I'm like, So I don't know, now I can never be sure what can bite anymore because even if they didn't bite for 50 years, they could bite now. And we've already seen it with stuff. Yeah, I can swim a little bit, but just well enough not to kill myself in a swimming pool. Yeah, swimming in the ocean's not that different if you're just dog paddling. I mean, unless there's a storm on or something, or there's waves. So yeah, let me just check that. So they still call it spur sometimes. But they're calling it Orion Bridge now, and that's the first time is just lately. Somebody found that on Retcon. I don't remember who, but that's just lately that I've ever heard that term. Okay. Actually, this is probably where I heard it from. This looks familiar. 19 days ago. From, who is that person? Jane 6, 19 days ago. I'm from the Orion Arm. I've learned recently it's shrunk and is now also called Orion Bridge. Something about the crossing port being a bridge. All right, let me just find it then. I think if I write spur on there, that'll dig it up. Looks like there's some software called Orion's Bridge, which would make sense if that's where we freaking live now, supposedly. Also known simply as the Orion Arm or local arm, and you sometimes still hear the names Orion Bridge or Orion Spur. So Orion's Bridge came and went before you ever knew it. We've been watching this thing for like 5 years for every term. And they keep switching them out. Our solar system is located between two prominent spiral arms in which astronomers once thought were merely a bridge of stars, gas, and dust clouds. In recent decades, research advances have revealed that we live in our very own spiral arm of the galaxy. Albeit a relatively minor one, our spiral arm is formerly called Orion Cygnus Arm. It is also known simply as Orion Arm or local arm, and you sometimes still hear the names Orion's Bridge or Orion Spur. Okay, so we're on our own spiral arm, and it has been called Orion Cygnus, Orion Arm, local arm, Orion Bridge, or Orion Spur. I mean, come on, people. When was this one done? This was in 2020, so only a year ago. So yeah, this is actually the first I've heard of this bridge business. I don't even... All right, so here is us. That doesn't look super different than the last time I checked. But I don't remember this real clear bit over here also continuing. So, you used to have these nice arms, but it's almost like there's this, like, disturbance in the force that's stretching along here in a straight line. So that's kind of weird, actually. It breaks the pattern of the nice circles. So what caused all this baloney? Probably there'll be some kind of interesting story to it. So yeah, I never heard of bridge in like 5 years, and now it's already old, but whatever. Oh, now NASA says our solar system is the Orion Belt. Is also referred to by its full name, the Orion Cygnus Arm, as well as local arm Orion Bridge, and formerly local spur and Orion Spur. So now bridge is more current, and it was formerly local spur and Orion. So they don't even have any consistency in when it was called what when. Let me just see what date this one is. That was 2017. So according to this, in 2017, it was still the bridge. It's just impossible to keep up. They just keep adding more names onto stuff. So that's one thing I've really noticed about these timelines is it used to be that there was just one word for things. Now what, they've got 5, 6, 7 words for our place in the galaxy. Like, you're never going to be able to figure out if something's changed if they're just tack all these words on. Humps are full of fat, so they should float. Emmy will say they're full of rainbow confetti. Yeah, who knows? They used to say it was full of water. I'm pretty sure they used to say there was water. Then, quite a number of years ago, oh, they're actually full of fat, not water. Yeah, they didn't have that disgusting balloon barfing out thing. That is so gross. I've had that on before. I'm talking about the camels that they have now. It's so gross. I forgot what it's called, but it's just really disgusting. They were already kind of gross. When I first knew them, they weren't. But then they'd say, oh, they spit and they bite. And then now they spit out this giant balloon and all this disgusting slime. And it's just like, ugh. I swear their legs are getting like all weird, long, and gimpy too. I don't remember them being that weird shaped. They had humps, but otherwise they weren't that weird. After watching Jaws, I didn't even want to swim in the swimming pool. You think you're safe there. There is no default for live chat. You have to set it up every single time you open this page. Oh, great. All right. Well, at least I won't be hunting for it. Thanks. So who donated? It was that big long name I said, which I now forgot it already. Emmy Sagittarius Arm something. Why would they keep changing the name? I know. It's like how many of those names are you gonna go through? Saw a video of camel swimming yesterday. See, now that's so interesting because these things, they just go viral and spread. So, for what, 30 years, there was no camels swimming on the internet, and everybody's like, oh my God, look at how well camels swim. Look at how well alligators swim. Oh my God, look at how fast turtles swim. Why would we not know these things? I mean, that should be pretty common knowledge. Okay, so now we're gonna go. I've had this on before. I had some videos of like somebody filleted a fresh fish and stuck it in the oven, and it was like flopping all over. I've had a number of videos of that. So they used to say, oh, it's because it's a cold water, um, like the nerves and stuff are used to functioning in a cold environment. So even though the temperature dropped, the nerve endings were still able to fire if you put like salt on it or you stimulate it or whatever. So I just thought it was really weird because I mean I have when I was younger I caught fish, like trout and stuff, and cold water, fairly cold water fish. because I live in America, so we're not the tropics, and I skinned them and cut the heads and slaked off all the scales, and I never had any problem with them flopping around when I was doing it ever. I mean, I don't remember. I just, I would just cut off the head and then flake the scales, and you just right after you cut off the head, that's it. They were done. They weren't moving. It would have been, and I was a kid. I was definitely more squeamish than now, and I would have been kind of freaked out if they had been flopping around, but they never did that. Okay, so now they used to say, oh, well, it's cold water, fish and stuff. But now, guess what? It's cows. Cows do it for it seems like it's like a few hours after slaughter it'll do it. So they're saying if you put salt on the fresh meat. So here's a slab of meat clearly quite separated from the cow, and they're going to sprinkle some salt, and they already did, but I'm going to hit the go button here and you can see what happens. So that's pretty gross. I mean, that's creepy. I'm sorry. So that's what we got now. Cows do it. I don't know. We're going to have the whole cow running around with its head chopped off like a chicken next. But so that whole, I think this fits in with survival too. Cause you can adults can be drowned for an hour and fished out of a lake and resuscitated and totally recover. I mean, not every time, but it's doable now. So flesh and life and just lives longer now. It's just hardier. It lasts longer. Have you seen the gigantic catfish they found in the rivers in Missouri and Arkansas? So I believe they were up to 4 or 5 feet. I've had those on. It's the size of the fish now is just next level. It's ridiculous. I remember Orion spur before 2016. So I don't know exactly what it was, for when I was a kid, I just didn't pay that much attention to it. But then it was Orion spur when I first learned of the Mandela. And then we've been shifting along. Yeah, see, why would they keep changing it every couple years? I could see that, well, in the UK they call it spur, and in America they call it arm or something, right? But there's no real logic to, once you have a name for your location, you're not just going to start suddenly calling it bridge next year. I mean, not for something like that. It just sounds really weird. If something phases out, it really should be much more generational too, not just a couple years. Today we're calling it Earth, but in 3 years we're calling it Fosbot. Let's call that planet Fosbot, and then in a few more years it's planet Plaster of Paris. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Orion Bridge is a bridge between the old world and the new world, possibly. Or we're bridging something. I don't know. It's an interesting word. Octopus limbs were notorious for being able to move when cut, but not other meats. Okay, I'm not sure on octopus, but fish did not do it. I did perch. I've done trout for sure, rainbow. And I'm trying to think. I know those two for sure. Some of these I was really young, so I don't always remember the names. Those are the ones I caught the most, and I remember they were. Oh, and catfish. I've done catfish. So tasty. None of those guys flop around after I cut the head off. And we used to catfish. They are so tough. So what we would do is we just put them in a bucket of water and then drive all the way home. And they can stay in there for hours and hours. And one time we even just threw them into the bathtub with water and kept them in there for another day and then did them. So and you just cut the head off and that's it. They're done. They're not flopping around anymore. So catfishes weren't that big before. They were big, but they weren't like they are now. All right, so what else we got here? Crocs. Okay. This one is an interesting one because this whole, okay. I remember back in the day when they started talking about stem cells, like, what can they do with them? And it was pretty kind of vague research. They just wanted to see if they could grow different tissues and stuff. So I was watching like a regular YouTube video, and this guy says that he had his dogs have a stem cell treatment. I'm like, what? Well, so apparently his dogs were kind of old, not old, but they were kind of getting on. And so he would just give them stem cell treatments. And here's the weird part. He said they just used human stem cells. And then they just put them in the dogs, and the dogs react really well to them. They get all like energetic and kind of younger. It's kind of like the dog equivalent of adrenochrome or something. They just it perks them up. They feel better. It was really weird. And he has his dog on the show a lot, and it was like usually his dog runs a little bit and stops, but his dog was running around like the Energizer Bunny. So he's like, yeah, we all got the stem cells. The dog got the stem cells, and everybody. So they have this stem cell thing where they just inject you with stem cells, like, and then it's like vitamins. I don't know. It's so weird. So, like, I'm looking into stem cell treatments for dogs, and supposedly it's been around for over 10 years. And they use it for osteoarthritis, and they do it for people, osteoarthritis. And I'm like, I've never heard of it for dogs, even like, I think it was like over 10 years. Like, if your dog is arthritic, especially, it's supposed to be really good. And like 80% of dogs improve quite a bit. And like, I've never heard of any of that stuff until like yesterday. And I'm usually pretty up on all the dog stuff. So I don't know what's up, but suddenly stem cells are like vitamins or something. So that was another one that was weird. Along with the coyote claws having changed. So that's the other thing, though. It's like you can just take human stem cells and inject them in a dog, and there's no like rejection or immune response or anything. Apparently, I don't know what they're doing to those stem cells to make them neutral, but I mean, doesn't it still have the human DNA and stuff in it? So the whole thing is just weird. When you were 9 or 10, did you sense something was all wrong about being human? Okay, I'll tell you something that's kind of goofy, and this is like really weird. Um, so when I was a kid, I had seen, I've seen like we would fish, and I saw the inside of butchered animals, and so I knew what the inside of creatures look like. But for some reason, I never really thought about humans because I never saw like an operation or anything. And then one day on TV, I did see a human operation, and of course, we just looked like animals inside. But for some reason, I think I was about in fourth grade or third grade then, and I didn't somehow, it makes no sense, I did not realize that humans were also gross looking inside. And even when I saw it, I'm like, well, what did I think they look like? I don't know, but I just didn't think we looked gross. And so I was actually all horrified that we look gross inside. And then I knew I looked gross. And I'm like, ew, I'm all gross inside. And it actually bugged me for years. I'm like, ew, humans are all disgusting and slimy. And I've never really understood it. Like, I don't know of anybody else who ever experienced that to my knowledge. But I think that would be the closest thing I would say, was that I just thought, like, that's so disgusting. Um, like, over a few years, I got over it, but so definitely that. For some reason, I always thought I should have a twin sister. That's interesting. So yeah, I don't know. We're here. We're gross. I guess you just have to get over it. And I pretty much did. I mean, we are kind of... You can't go around thinking you're gross because it's just too negative, You just have to get used to it. But I kind of wonder, maybe was I some kind of creature that didn't have this kind of slimy body before? Cut me open and sparkles and glitter come out. Yeah, I guess I just thought it was something more nice, And even as I was watching, I'm like, well, of course we look just like the animals inside. I'd seen the animals, There's no reason to suspect any different. Oh, wait. This one, I think, is what we want. Just trying to make that one live. Okay, so what are we at? So xenogenic stem cells. That's what they call them, xenogenic. So they're like from a genetic line that's not you and not your species. So yes, apparently you can inject dogs with these human ones. The outcome seems to be good as far as I can tell. It's interesting because I tried to research this business and they pretty much only talked about, like, they didn't say where they got the stem cells from. So I'm like, are these dog stem cells or what? And a lot of them just kind of skipped mentioning it. But so apparently they do actually do, like, they can take the stem cells out of the dog, culture them, and then put them back in. So I remember that it being hard to get stem cells, like they'd have to get it from cord blood or something. But apparently now they can grow them and then just inject them back in, or they can take it from another animal and inject it in another animal, or they can take it from a whole nother species. And all right, so where are we at here? All right, so what's that thumbnail thing? Maybe I'll turn that one off. So we talked about life on Mars, and they're kind of sneaking up on it, sidling up to it really gradually. And I saw this. So now they're saying that Mars has long had, like for decades, we've known about this, pseudo fossils or false fossils. Scientists warn of false fossils. Man, say that a bunch of times fast. False fossils on Mars. False fossils. I think I like pseudo fossils better. How come I write pseudo fossils and everything says false fossils? Fake fossils. So now the story is that there's a bunch of stuff that came from Mars that looks like fossils, just like fossils, but we're sure they're not fossils because we have figured out other ways that these could be made that don't involve life. So here you can see where I've kind of snagged the image from. So apparently all this is not evidence of life. It just coincidentally looks just like it. So, I mean, is this setting us up for some kind of conspiracy theory? Like they've been there the whole time, but the scientists are lying and saying they're not? Or are they going to suddenly go, oh, wait, these ones that we always thought were false fossils are actually real fossils? So we're like that close to having life fossils on Mars. They're just look just like life fossils, but there's something else. If you see these things about fossilized Martian microbes floating around on the internet, those supposed alien microcreatures are not what they seem. They're posers. Easy to mistake for extraterrestrial life, especially in a planet that might have once been like Earth, where fossils of things that were once alive might be hiding. There are chemical processes that can make something that never actually lived appear otherwise. Because organics are involved in the chemical processes that create these imposters, and organics are necessary for life, at least as we know it, there needs to be a way to tell them apart from actual fossils. So then there's this article about what can give the fakes away. Many processes involving self-organization during chemical interactions between minerals, fluids, and carbon-rich compounds could create false fossils. Examples include things like chemical gardens and the tendency of certain carbon compounds to form spheres and tubes that look eerily like bacteria under a microscope. While presence of organics is necessary for life, it doesn't necessarily mean that there ever was life there. There are probably more processes that create pseudofossils that are still unknown. Well, we don't know what the processes are, but we know they're there, but we don't know what they are. Even more confusing is that many of those that are known on our planet occurred where there was organic matter and liquid water, kind of like a primordial soup. Since rovers have unearthed specimens with an uncanny resemblance to actual microbes, knowing what abiotic, non-biological processes are behind deposits that cosplay as fossils will make it easier to rule out posers in the future. Okay, so what I do remember is many, many years ago, decades ago, there was supposedly some asteroids from Mars that were broke open and looked under a microscope and seemed to have petrified super tiny bacteria. And so at first they said, oh, we found bacteria on these asteroids. And then the other scientists said, oh no, that bacteria is too small to be actual bacteria. And then that other science came forward and said, no, there's evidence of super tiny bacteria on Earth too, so you can't just go by size. And then the whole thing got dropped. But the thing with those is they just look like bacteria drops. They weren't like tubes or, like all of this stuff. Maybe if it was just the circles, but there was no tubes or spiral things or anything like that. So this doesn't really fit with that old storyline. I did not see that other storyline too, so I don't know if it's still around or not. Oh, here's that story here, actually. Martian meteorites that fell to Earth are our only source of samples from the red planet for now. What were initially mistaken to be fossil worms and bacteria. Now, that's interesting because I don't remember any fossil worms, just the bacteria. On those meteorites were actually made of carbonate, magnetite, and hydrocarbons. Abiotic processes are masters of disguise. They can make rocks appear to have biosignatures in the chemical and molecular sense, as well as mineralogically, isotopically, and morphologically. McMahon thinks that such formations need to be recreated in the lab in every way possible to avoid false positives. All right, so they're pretty much laying out like we can find a whole bunch of stuff that looks just like fossils, but we've already pretty much decided they're not fossils. So, I don't know. It definitely leaves open, like, I think we're stuck. Yeah, NASA, the liars. We're like moving more in that direction. When are they going to show us the apartment complexes on Mars? They look, I'm just like, they look just like fossils, but they're not fossils. And we need to make sure we tell you that they're not fossils, even though we don't know every possible way that fake fossils can be made. We have to assume they're fake. It's just very fishy. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, like, okay, there's all this evidence that the ISS feed is baloney, that it's green screen. There's a whole bunch of evidence that NASA is phony baloney. But if they are phony baloney, then why don't they keep their lies consistent? I mean, why is Mars turning to have a blue sky now? And there's There's ice on Mars and all that. So what's going on with that then? You know, just weird. I don't know. So that's Mandela's, and then I don't know. It just there's too much going on. If they were going to fake it, then they would keep it consistent. So Mandela's plus faking. This see the other thing is my old timeline, that stuff looked real. Now it looks fake. So we switched to a timeline where it's fake. So there are fossils there that look just, yeah, they're not fossils. They look just like fossils, but they're not because they were made supposedly some other way, other. If you want to get away from thinking in verbiage and clutter of rationales, drawing is an excellent to clean your mind. You know, the one thing I found though is like when I draw, like whatever part of my brain is in charge of it isn't like doesn't wrap up my rest of my brain. So the rest of my brain, like for instance, when I was listening to a lecture at school, I would draw all the time and I would still completely understand all the lecture, especially if it was that one I didn't have to look up too often, so I could just look down and draw. And so it didn't really shut up my brain. It just like an extra part of my brain would work on the drawing while the rest of my brain would do the other part. So if you want your brain washed, just watch TV. Yeah. It's not working very well for me. I just every time I watch it, I'm just like kind of like, you know, I just like it just kind of bugs me. We have oxygen on the moon for 1 billion people. The moon is rusting. We have mushrooms there too. Well, not officially, but yeah. But we do have ice. And I think they're working on some melted water on the moon too. It's all fake. A vacuum surrounding a pressurized system without a physical barrier is laughable. Without a physical barrier is laughable in reality. Yeah, but I mean, if you had like a dome and like a flat earth, like set that up either? I mean, it didn't just like grow there by natural. So I mean, if the whole place is like some kind of weird sim made out of consciousness, then anything can happen. Yeah, Elon's car in space is another thing that looks ridiculous. But, you know, we're in clown world, so who the heck knows what is possible and not possible? I mean, we've seen physics change. The moon's orbit and its whole thing has changed. So anything's possible. You know, if all that can magically change and we can shift through dimensions, then like the concept of a globe Earth is no weirder than that. Elon said yesterday that SpaceX is probably bankrupt. Oh, interesting. I'm sure it'll stick around though. That seems to be the latest thing is bankruptcies now just involve a reorganization. Used to be when I was a kid, then they were gone. That product was gone. He stole the car in space from the adult cartoon movie Heavy Metal. Yeah, it could be. Or it's just all fake. I don't know. Okay, so, that reminds me too. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but so we have Cheshire Moon now is happening here in California, but it's in the eastern sky now. So I remember last year I would always see it in the western sky, but something must have shifted because now I'm just seeing it eastern sky all the time. I guess I'm the only person that thinks Elon is a good person, not corrupt or deceiving anyone. I think that Elon has a very good marketing department. But I do think there's indications that Elon is not as claimed. The most obvious one is there's something fishy probably with the space traveling business anyways. And then his car in space is ridiculous. I mean, he's got an ordinary car is not going to survive radiation and being hit by little meteorites and just being blasted up there without any burn marks or, I mean, the freaking upholstery is pristine and the sun should be scorching that. The tires, how are they maintaining pressure in space? There's like 100 questions. So that is very fake looking. There's some issues with behavior. I mean, he's like he wanted to make that little submarine to save the, remember when the kids got trapped in the cave and the water was rising and the experts needed to go, the expert scuba divers needed to go and help them get out because they had gotten trapped. And so Elon wanted to make a little mini sub that could like toot around inside the cave and you could put the kids in it and like get them out that way. But it's, I don't know if any of you ever done any caving. I mean, I'm not an expert or anything, but if there was enough room to put a miniature submarine in there, then there would be plenty of room to just do ordinary diving and stuff. The whole problem is that there's not, that the spots are too tight. And so the expert divers shot down Elon. They said, no, you know, we don't care if you made a sub. It's not going to fit, you know. And it really does seem like Elon has very minimal experience, like in nature things. You know, he's sort of a city boy. And I don't think he didn't understand the problem. I don't think he's spent any time in a cave. So I guess he got all butthurt that they didn't want his submarine that he probably spent a lot of time on for those few days. And so he started calling the guy that shot him down, he started saying he was a pedophile. And it was really weird, though, because Elon does not know this guy. There is zero indication that he's a pedophile. He's in there as like a hero saving people from this cave, but he's in there with like dozens of other people. So there's no way he could try to pull anything, even if he wanted to. There's no indication that he did try to pull anything. There was nothing in his history ever on any of this stuff. So, like, why was Elon saying that? He didn't even have any, he didn't give any evidence to back up his insult. He didn't insult the guy until after the guy said, sorry, we don't want your submarine. So that was just, and that was a big old public thing. So, you know, that's just weird. I don't know, you know, and then you look at the fact that Elon is publicly saying that he is inventing a chip to implant in your brain for transhumanism, you know, and then how far and how fast he's risen in the system. And yeah, I don't trust him. You know, I think that Elon's job is to kind of act like the rebel right now. So he's kind of, notice how he's played it with the vaccine. First, in the beginning, when there was a whole bunch of COVID phobia, he just kept his mouth shut. He didn't go directly against too many people. Now that it's getting a little bit less popular, he's starting to speak out a little more, but he's not jumping all the way onto the anti-vaccine bandwagon or anything. He's just pushing back a little more, not too much. You know, and a lot of people are, oh, you know, he's really smart. And you know, he probably is smart. At least he's very good at advertising and playing marketing skills. But so I think he's positioning himself. So if this arm pokes and the lockdowns become unpopular in about 2 years or so, and there's going to be if there's a backlash against those. Now, who has positioned himself to be the one who knew all along, the rebel, who tried to warn you? Now, notice he's not really sticking his neck too far out. He's just a little bit ahead, but not far. He's going to be the guy. Oh, he knew all along and he's so smart. And when he starts offering the next option, which is going to be transhumanism, you know, and that's another reason why I don't trust him, because he is pushing transhumanism. He said it, you know, he said it out loud. He's warned you. And just because somebody says they're going to do something doesn't mean you should trust them. I mean, I don't trust that guy. He's got a brilliant marketing department. And so I see all the time that they market. For instance, a lot of rich people do not buy homes, because what they do is they leave all their money in their business, and they try to just have all their expenses be written off by the business. So they can, if they have to travel, they can write off rent and travel and stuff too as business expenses. And if they actually take a bunch of income and buy a home with it, then they'd have to pay taxes on all that income. So they don't. They leave it in the business, and they'll just get like a mortgage. And then the mortgage, you don't have to pay taxes on a loan, right? And then they would just pay like the minimal amount. They usually get really low interest mortgages. There's tricks that they do, or they just rent and travel, you know. So basically, Elon's had his marketing department say, "Oh, he's so humble that he didn't even buy a home," you know, which is ridiculous because it's just a tax saving strategy. He flies and travels a lot. He's you know, he has you know, his own private traveling. He doesn't, it's not like he's on the plane with the rest of us schmucks or anything, you know. So they're trying to make it out he's this humble nice guy who works so hard, and you know, maybe he does work so hard, but he's famously not humble. And he famously is not you know, so like he's not doing it for the reason they said. And there's a lot of examples like that. Like there's another one out where they said, "Oh, he's foregoing this big what is it? Not subsidiary. It's when the government gives you handouts or something." He's like, he's not going to take these handouts because he doesn't believe in, you know, government subsidies. That's it. He doesn't believe in government subsidies. And there's a whole article about how Elon is going to forego these subsidies because he doesn't believe in them. And then there's like paragraphs and paragraphs about his beliefs against subsidies. And it's ridiculous because at the very, very end of the article, on the last line, it says that he's not actually eligible for the subsidies. So I'm like, wait, he's foregoing them. He's not eligible for them. He can't get it. And considering the amount of like solar subsidies that his whole company has been raking in for decades now, it's ridiculous for him to suddenly speak against subsidies. It's so hypocritical, but it's a marketing strategy. So for all these reasons, I don't trust him, you know, but I don't trust any of the top guys. You think for yourself, you know, you gotta think for yourself in the current time. I know that it is very human to want to have somebody that you look up to and admire and trust, but we don't know any of these people. They're just, you know, what you see of them is from their marketing department. You don't know them. And there are plenty of indicators that Elon Musk is not an angel, okay? I really suggest that you really look hard. I mean, he wants to put a chip in your brain, okay? He's got that satellite thing he's put up. He's taken control of the skies. He wanted to call it SkyNet. That was his original name for it, was SkyNet, of all things. So yeah, the writing is on the wall, people. I mean, you can't be any plainer than this guy. Don't trust him, you know? Do not. Just because he's being obvious about it doesn't make it any safer. All the world's a stage. Yeah, and you know, he's playing his part, definitely. Yeah, you know, Jesus, or you know, the God, the I do believe there's a force that is like the force of good out there, you know, an energy, a force, a thing that operates the world. That, yeah, yes. SkyNet. You know what? The story is that he wanted to name it SkyNet, but the board of directors said no. And so they named it Starlink instead. So anyway, yeah, I mean, and if I'm wrong, fine. It's better to not trust somebody and turn out to be wrong than to trust somebody and turn out to be wrong. Especially when it comes to, you know, it's not like your neighbor or your friend or anything. So just be careful. You know, I don't know. I'm not psychic powers, but I think there's a lot of indicators to be very cautious when it comes to Elon. All right. All the players on the stage, I think, there's a lot of interesting things going on right now. I really feel like he's like a lot of the storyline is a lot ahead. We're just reactive, you know. Biden announced something last week. We react to it. We're looking a few months ahead, but the storyline is lining up now for stuff like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So, you know, I think that Elon's going to be part of that storyline, the transhumanist storyline. He is going to be the dude. All right, so this one was found. I think everybody got credit. Yeah, nobody got credit for the other ones because those were all mine. This one is Shari D's. Shari, very good find. So she found this thing called Avenue of the Sphinxes. And I guess that's been on the news a bunch lately. I think I might have seen it, but somehow I didn't put it together. Because I was thinking Avenue of the Sphinxes was like last year when they were traipsing all those coffins down the street to a new location at a new museum. But it's not that. Whoops, I think I want to be here. So I'll show some images of it. Have you guys seen this? It's like this avenue where there's all of these sphinxes. So these are like original, you know, from the pharaohs built these, and there's just all of them lined up. Avenue of the Sphinxes. Have you heard of this thing? Maybe recently, but have you heard of it from before? The stuff that's showing up, I don't think this is Avenue of the Sphinxes here, but I mean, like all of this stuff is just coming out of the woodwork here. Like Life Matrix was saying, he remembers the Great Pyramids out in the middle of nowhere. And now they're like next to the city. So one of the things the Avenue of the Sphinxes has is a bunch of these ram's head sphinxes. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then they've got these like pharaoh guys here where the beard is, which is also weird. So obviously you definitely have some questions about, like, you know, a symbol of the devil here with the ram's head. I don't remember there being ram's head stuff in Egypt at all. Okay, so here's more of the ram's head ones from another angle. There was one somewhere that was really weird looking, but it might have been these ones head on. And now we're looking at it from the side. Let's see if I can find any more. I think that's another one. No, I'm not sure what that is, actually. Cryo-shinks. What is that? That might have been what I saw. Yeah, that might be one of them. Make it bigger so you can see it here. So what's going on with that? I don't know. So you can see there's a nose, ears, eyes, and like the beard is a person. Okay, so there's another image. All right, now I'm going to go to the wiki. All right, construction of Avenue of Sphinxes began during the New Kingdom era and completed during the late period, during the reign of 30th dynasty ruler Nectanebo I. Never heard of that guy. There's a lot of weird sounding ones. Anyway, never heard of that guy. The road was later buried under layers of sand over the centuries. The Avenue of the Sphinx is described as 2,000 meters long, lined with over 600 sphinxes. I feel like the story is getting kind of shabby here. Let me dig through it a little bit. George de Resi reported in 1893 at Luxor the road is buried and couldn't be excavated because it lied below the groundwater level, whereas at Karnak nearly a kilometer of it is visible. The first trace of the avenue at Luxor was found in 1949 when Egyptian archaeologist Mohammed Zakaria Ghanem discovered 8 statues near the Luxor temple, with 17 more statues uncovered from 1958 to 1961, and 55 unearthed from 1961 to 1964, all within a perimeter of 250 meters. Okay, so what's weird about this is you can see they're all in a freaking line. Okay, so you find a bunch of them, and then right next to that is another, and the next to that is another. Would you not just keep, like, okay, there's 10 in the line here, so maybe there's an 11th, a 12th. Wouldn't you not just keep checking? Wouldn't you, once you found a batch of them, go, hey, looks like there's a road with statues on both sides, and they're pointing in towards the road, this side from here and this side from here. So, and it's apparently between 2 other buildings. Wouldn't you finally go, it looks like there's a road between these 2 buildings lined with sphinxes on both sides, and start looking for the rest of the sphinxes? Would you not? I mean, you're looking at it, it looks like a totally straight road. So it's not like you have to figure out the route. Yet here they act like they had to figure out the route. From 1984 to 2000, the entire route of the walkway was finally determined, leaving it to excavators to uncover the road. The original 1,057 statues are along the way, and they are divided into 3 shapes. So I don't get it. It's a straight road between 2 buildings. They found the sphinxes on either side, perfectly lined up, yet it took them like 16 years to figure out the entire route. I mean, they're actually equidistant, everything. I mean, a 5-year-old, if shown that information, would go, oh, it looks like there's a road between here and here. You know, I mean, like, anyway, I've never heard of this thing, and it sounds like this is baloney to me. It does not make sense. Okay, so the 3 shapes, the first shape is a lion's body with a ram's head. Let's see. And then the second shape is a full ram statue built in a remote area during the 18th dynasty before being transferred later to Karnak. The third shape, which includes the largest shape part of the statues, is statue of the Sphinx body of a lion and a head of a human. The statues extend over a mile to Luxor Temple. Fireworks during the reopening ceremony. So they just reopened this thing in November 25th, 2021. But I still think it's very, very fishy that this route has been known about and uncovered. The entire uncovering of the route was done in 2000, so 21 years ago. And yet we're just hearing about it now. So here's the road. I'm trying to see. I can't actually see where the statues are. I don't really even remember the rest of this business, like all of this being around for long either. This might be Karnak. I'm not sure, but I just I haven't seen any of this stuff. Then there's Zahi Hawass, called the Luxor site, the largest open-air museum archaeological site in the world that tells the history of Egypt, blah, blah, blah. So that's another Mandela for me, because that guy who used to be the Minister of Antiquities, and then he wasn't the Minister of the Antiquities, and his name used to be Zawahi Hawass. And quite a number of years ago, it changed to Zahi Hawass. But it's the same dude. But he used to be Zawahi Hawass. So he lost W-A sound. So he's one of the early ones for me that changed by more than one digit, because there's two digits. The W and the A are both gone. There were no ram's head anywhere in the statues of Egypt. Yeah, that's what I feel like. There were no obvious devil symbols. The closest was like Anubis. But he didn't look like, he didn't have the same devil symbology that you see associated with the Bible. Elon, I've only been aware of him since around 2019. Yeah, there's the Mandela effect factor too, definitely. My old timeline, he had no children. I am not going to swear on that one, but I do remember him and the girlfriend having no kids when I first knew about him. And now he's got this pile of kids. So there's, he did not spin out those kids in that short a period of time. I'm very suspicious. I wouldn't swear to it, but I really remember him. Like, I remember looking into him and feeling like he was this, like, kind of playboy. He didn't commit to marriage or anything. He just had girlfriends, but that's not the story now. SkyNet is DARPA Boston Dynamics. So I've covered before that, like, what he says SkyNet does is very vague, but he basically said it's some kind of like satellite network for phones. But experts in the field said that what he said it does and how he said it does it makes no sense to them, and they don't see how any of it would work. So either he's got some super secret tech and he's doing exactly what he claims, or there's some whole other thing going on in there. At least he's putting up a show of getting closer to Mars bases. Well, he's got total and utter control of all of our skies. When I heard about that whole SkyNet Starlink thing, I'm like, so just anybody can take over the entire skies of the world and none of the other governments are going to complain about this guy basically owning our entire above space area now? Yeah, it's very interesting. If you haven't figured out, you're not on a spinning ball. Well, I don't know what we're on because, like I said, I'm kind of a sim theory person. So, if you're on World of Warcraft, is it a ball or is it flat? It's just a rendering that's plastered onto your eyes, and it's not really anything. It's just it's a screen. It's a projection. So to say what it is not really doable in such a case. It's just rendered in a way that is aesthetically pleasing, just like World of Warcraft would be. If there's a parallel Earth and it's different than a simulation, I don't know. It could just be another simulation. I mean, how many copies of World of Warcraft are there? You could just copy the programming and you could do another one, I mean, I do think that there's some kind of consciousness involved. So even if you see NPCs or whatever, that doesn't mean there's no consciousness involved. It's just not what we think is my suspicion. And so you have World of Warcraft, and the programmers decide that, we're going to make it, this is going to be the shape, they'll start up, they're going to be a campaign where we have to know the shape of the Earth, or we're going to change it, and they can backwards do Mandelas into it and change the past. It's called retconning, retrocausality. Okay, let's go back and say all along this was true. I mean, all of that is totally possible. All right, so I'm glad you guys don't remember the ram statues. There's other stuff I'm suspicious about. I'm quite positive there was no devil statues, though. I'm not even sure if two people sitting beside each other can see the same thing. And see, it kind of makes sense because if you are looking at two different computer screens and I'm seeing one copy of a program and you're seeing another copy of a program, then we may not be seeing the same thing. So what if eyes were like that? Maybe the computer screen is your eyes, that's what your eyes project to you. So yeah, and I've seen some indicators of that because seemed to be some cases a few times where people were able to see Mandelas and write about them, and I was not able to see them for like 3 days later than when I looked at their image. Now I could see it. It's like I was slow to the shift. They beat me. Our vibrations determine where we can see. Yes, could be like how we tune, something. There's something like that. I don't know. So maybe, we're each on a little bit different timelines, but shifting around. So I have to shift to where you are. Maybe that determines what I could see. I don't know. There's something going on though. All right, covered that one. Cheshire Moon's covered. Did that one. Okay, this is a little bitty one from Elijah Thinks. And I guess this is an old one, but I kind of vague on if I covered it. But the spelling of Dan Aykroyd. How do you spell that last name, Ackroyd? If anybody remembers how to spell it. What was your original spelling of Ackroyd? Dan Aykroyd. And just a little chit-chat about this and that. It's not really a Mandela, but I did also notice this week that suddenly there's like AI stuff everywhere. So there's like this AI art program online. And then, let me find that one. This is probably not the same one, but there's more than one of these. So basically you can type stuff in and then the AI will make art out of it. So one of the sites I found, you could type in any word, and I think what the AI is doing is it does a Google search and it looks at all the different images and it comes up with kind of a arty rendition of them. But the thing is, you could totally see it had a feeling to it. I mean, it was pretty good at finding that weird feeling that kind of fit with that thing. Let me see. Looks like, oh God, some of these look like drug trips or something. So anyway, yeah, tons of that was showing up this week. Google newly launched Magenta project aims to create art with artificial intelligence. All right, then what was the other thing? Oh, and then on Redcon, people were posting poems. Apparently, AI have made all these weird poems, and they weren't bad. Better than a lot of human poems. So I don't know. There's just like this sudden shift this week is like AI everything. So yeah, ball logic is pseudoscience, but dome logic, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think we might be shifting to that just because a lot of the Mandelas kind of make it look like there is a dome up there where there didn't used to be that evidence. So maybe, but like I said, if you're in a simulation, then there's really no point in arguing over the shape of your simulation. I'm an Aries and I'd have known about those statues. Yep. Someone had a theory that we communicate over the internet with people in parallel universes. I would explain the division on so many different topics that people are in different worlds. I do think it's quite likely that we do that, but yet even with people who are right here with me, there's been weird things where I would ask about a Mandela that I saw, and I'd be like, why does this guy look so red today? You know, this was early on before I knew about Mandelas, but I knew there was something up, and I'm like, this guy is reddish. And there were quite a number of times when I said something like that, and the person, it was like, they didn't hear me, they didn't answer me. There was like this weird, creepy silence, like the brain was not processing and refused to process the info. And it was weird because you would think they'd just say, I don't know, it's weird, huh? Or something like that, you know? These aren't people who would normally snub me. They're not that kind of people. So, but I would ask and there'd be no answer at all. And so it was like something was going on with them, that we weren't on like the same wavelength or something. So I kind of wonder if they just like, what I said caused some kind of circuitry issue or something. They didn't want to deal with it. Because I feel like normally you would just say, like, if you say, oh, do you remember what the name of what actor played such and such part? They go, I don't know. But yet I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It just wasn't right. And these are people standing next to me. They're not online. So it may still even be true that the people next to you, when you stand next to a person and look at a newspaper, how do you know they see the same front page article as you do? You would only know if you decide to talk about it. But 99% of things in your perception you do not ask about. I don't know if the devil is ever referred to as a goat sheep in the Bible. Yeah, that's why I say it's associated with the Bible, because I don't recall it specifically being the case, but yet somehow it's very strongly associated with it. Yes, biblically it was called a scapegoat, but it was actually a lamb, at least from what I taught. Exactly. If we are in a simulation, why argue the shape of the game map? Yeah, it's just, however, that's why I'm like, I'm not against flat Earth. I'm not against globe Earth. I think we may have had, it's almost like, what is canon? The saying canon means like the official answer for that world according to the developers or the writers or the programmers. So what's canon for that world? So sometimes canon is changed. The official answer is here, but they might come back over in 10 years and say, no, we're changing the canon, and that's no longer canon, and this is canon, or they'll add something that puts a whole different spin on the old canon. So I kind of feel like that's how the world is. Like, I think before, globe Earth was canon, and it still kind of is, but it almost feels like we're shifting over. The evidence is shifting over to more of a flat Earth kind of thing. But it's hard to say where the canon will land. Will it stay with the flat Earth, or will we get some third final answer? I think his name was Aykroyd. This is the right way. Never heard of symbology. I think it's one of those new catchphrase words. I don't think it's been around that long. I tend to pick up words pretty fast, and I've been hearing it a lot, so I just start using it. Symbology appeared approximately 1990. Yeah, I think it's been around a while. People say also too a lot this year. That's an interesting one. Yeah, I have not picked up that one. Okay, so for me, Ackroyd used to be a Dan, of course. Ackroyd. Akroyd. Then some point along the line there was the C. Okay, the C doesn't look too bad. Ugh, dang it. And maybe it always there. I'm not sure. Okay, but it definitely was not for me what it was now. So this person who found this, Elijah thinks, user Elijah thinks, she remembered this changing in like 2019, and I'm trying to remember if we covered this or not, but it's Dan like Aykroyd now, Aykroyd. I really just remember that being a C, and now it doesn't look like Ackroyd, it looks like Aykroyd. I mean, why would you say Ackroyd when it's Aykroyd? So, I don't know. So they're still saying it's, it looks like they're almost saying it's Ackroyd now, because AE is not a, it's Ackroyd. Dan Aykroyd. Let's see. Yeah, they're saying it's A.E. Croyd. So they're actually saying it's Dan Aykroyd. Not Ackroyd, Aykroyd. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely Ackroyd for me. I wanted to ask about hexagon pupils. Yeah, so some people were just saying they looked really close to their eyes and they went, holy hand grenades, and I got hexagon pupils. I actually should look at mine just to check. It was a few years ago. A number of people said they had them and they were all freaked out. But I kind of like dropped it after that. Logically, it seems to me like we are in a simulation on something like a multi-game server with many different simultaneous simulations running and maybe even different games. Yeah, so, God, there is a lot of computer examples of this. So one thing that I was told is like when there's a lot of servers and they do an update on one server, it takes a while for the updates to percolate through all the different servers. So they could do an update on a server near you, and you could pull up a web page and see one web page, and I could pull up the same web page on my end and see a different web page because my server has not got the upgrade yet. So theoretically, the upgrades would percolate through all the servers, but who knows if reality is exactly like that. But that just might be it. Maybe I was like the slowest, my server is the slowest upgrade at the end of the line or something. So there just seems to be a lot of computer parallels. Maybe my server wasn't ready for the upgrade as fast as the other people's were. So yeah, interesting to think about. That spelling looks so wrong. What a Y. I don't remember that either. Yep. I think we will see more download stairs. We continue to jump timelines and things get weirder. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of people predicting, spiritualists from 20 years ago. Dolores Cannon. Excuse me. Terrence McKenna. Even the Bible and stuff, the Kali Yuga Indian thing from India they all predict it's just going to get weirder. I see hexagons in my pupils. It freaked me out. Yep. So I suspect it's basically another anatomy change, that it's changed the way the eyes open and close a little bit. DuckDuckGo is having some problems on my computers. At least it won't load, at least didn't yesterday. That's interesting because I have also been having some problems. I don't know if they're upgrading their servers. Speaking of the devil. Let's see if I have any. Yes, I have water down here. But yeah, I've been having trouble. It's just been like hanging and jamming. So I went to Google and it was fine. Honestly, hearing on this show that many people remember Wolverine having 4 claws shook me up because I've always only seen 3. No, it was 4. 4 for sure. I can't picture 4 claws without feeling weird. I can't look at 3 claws without feeling weird. Me too. Duck, duck, no go. Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, duck. Computer's been a little glitchy this week, too. Let's see what the last 24 hours have said for DuckDuckGo. Looks like maybe, I don't know, 8 reports. That's not very many. 2 reports. That doesn't really look like a reasonable problem in the last 24 hours. So that is interesting. It does seem to me, though, that when things are shifty, we see weird problems with the computers. Okay, Ronan remembers 4 claws on Wolverine. Shari, 4, 1 from each knuckle. That's how I was. They were back by the knuckles. So it kind of made sense because the knuckle is a strong part. So that's where you would expect, a strong part to be attached. Angels Don't Fall had 3. Yeah, see, Wolverine is like my favorite character also. So 3 claws make more sense between the knuckles. I want to say 4 claws make more sense on the knuckles. It would come out of the knuckle bows. Yeah, that's how I feel. Because if they were in here, what's holding them together? I mean, like, where is it attached? We're arguing about what's most logical on a fictional character. So it's kind of funny when you think about it. Okay, got that one. Okay, I've only got one left because, like I said, it was a little slow. So I don't know. I haven't felt too bad, so I don't want to think it's like super shifty for that reason. But the computer's been a little funky, and I did see some small personal Mandelas. So I don't think it's totally stable. And when it's shifty, then often the next week or the week after, there'll be a lot of Mandelas. So I guess we'll just have to wait. I don't know if anybody's been watching the, what do you call it? The Schumann resonance to see if anything, resonance to see if anything is going on. I can't find this original, but this is interesting. That there's a whole bunch of similar ones. Okay, so apparently the Mandela effect terminology is not the favorite terminology. They're calling it timeline shifts. And so there's an article somewhere, and I'm not finding it. But a bunch of people on TikTok have been talking about this. So this is kind of some of the stuff we've been talking about because, a lot of us have in our families, like we have old family history that we agreed on like 10 years ago. Everybody in the family remembered the time when such and such happened and such did this and blah, blah, blah. And there usually was no argument. Everybody had the same memories. But some years ago that started breaking up and like half the family would remember one thing and the others wouldn't remember another. And so we've hypothesized that this has got to be going on all over. Arguments breaking out about health issues that happened or didn't happen. So apparently it's getting on TikTok. And this is not the exact one I wanted to hear, but it's fine. But they're calling it timeline shifting. I have had many timeline shifts experiences in the past. This is 8 years ago. 8 years ago. So this is before the Mandela. Some of them include deaths of celebrities who apparently died in other timelines. And I found out they were alive. I currently noticed Australia moving on the map. So this sounds like Mandela, but you're not using the word Mandela. I'm trying to find this TikTok one, actually. So that one was in Parallel Universe. Let me see if I can find this one. Dang it, I should be able to find it. Let me see if Google has it. Because I typed the exact name. It's specific enough. Here it is. Inside the Bizarre World. Maybe I typed in weird instead of bizarre. Inside the bizarre world of timeline shifters, the TikTok users who claim they teleport to a parallel universe by using extreme temperature change in the shower as their portal. Viral TikTok movement. So viral, huh? Sees users say the shower is a portal for time travel. This is from November 28th, 2021. They claim they change the temperature from hot to cold and shift zones. Katie Rocks from Nashville claims she was on a plane on a school trip in 2017 where she sat with a group of classmates. But the classmates all claim they missed the flight. So she remembers being on the flight with the classmates, but the classmates claim they missed the flight and she was on the plane by herself. And I've already read through this one. So basically she also has a memory of hanging out with them at the airport after the flight, and they also have that memory, which makes no sense because if they weren't on that flight they wouldn't have come to the airport on the other end at the same time. So there's something fuzzy about that. She is one of hundreds of TikTok users who have claimed to have changed timelines. Claim you can manifest your desired timeline with 7 simple steps in the shower. Okay, so I don't think the shower has any magic powers, but it could be, I have said before that we had, there is a subreddit called something like the Time Shifters. It wasn't that exact one. Dimensional Travelers is the name of it. And they had this weird ritual where you do this weird glass half full technique or something where you have 2 water glasses and you do some kind of ritual. So now they have this weird shower ritual, which is totally different one. So I'm suspecting that basically it's going to be some kind of belief in your mind, like you set an intent and this ritual, like kind of a magic spell basically, but it's driven by your mind. It's not going to be driven by the shower. But if you believe in the shower doing it, then maybe it's the belief itself that will do it. For many, the idea of shifting to a parallel universe will be something left to the superhero movies. But for some, it is perhaps a reality, with dozens of TikTok users are claiming they have shifted realities into parallel timelines. The other option is it could be that this is already happening anyways, and it didn't happen when they were in the shower, but they just now were looking for changes, and they find them because we're all finding changes, and the shower had nothing to do with it. That might be another one. The users claim they use the shower as their portal for time travel simply by changing the temperature from hot to cold and manifesting the change they want. All right, then that's that school trip one. Things like water work as natural portals. After going viral with her story of accidental travel, Katie claims she can now move timelines deliberately by manifesting her desires while in the shower. So I don't think you really need the shower, but you might be able to manifest your desires. All right, blah, blah, blah. This is, This happens a lot in airports. Large traveling portals create energy openings. I've heard this. I ain't know it was like that, though. I spent the rest of 2017 trying to figure out whose life I was living. This matches the timeline around when universes were colliding, where we got way more Mandela effects. Okay, and the clowns went away. So we do have the magic word in here. Is this why people keep saying 2016 was the last good year? I guess it depends on which timeline you're from. Okay, so this seems like this TikTok trend is starting to kick in, and this is getting more mainstream. Timelines shifted in 2017. My life went to a 180-degree transformation after that year. All right, so she's telling, it's just her classic Mandela effect thing. So here we have another event that could have shifted either way. She remembers that they were somehow late or distracted in the airport, and she remembers them making it to the flight in a nick of time. But in their timeline, they didn't make it in the flight in the nick of time. So it was one of those that could flip-flop either way, and they came from the timeline when they didn't make it. So who knows? You know, this is all tricky because we didn't do anything, and we shifted a bunch of times. I didn't even know it was possible when I was already doing it. So obviously I wasn't doing any magical manifesting in the shower, but yet it happened anyway. Water is so powerful. You can shift into your most desired timeline when you want to. Manifest is already coming through using the power of water. So is it the water, or is it just the power of your mind that you A, decided it was possible, B, like believed you had the power to do it, and C, concentrated on what you wanted in life more? Those three things might be the main crux of it. You want to do this with intentionality. When you go into the shower, soak yourself, warm water, and really cover your entire body and get soaking wet. As the water is running through, literally visualize the water cleansing you so that it removes all of your limiting beliefs. So this is probably generally a good idea. Trying to ask for cleansing of negative thoughts, etc. All the things holding you back from stepping your highest self, your career, success, or business. You've got to remember that everything you desire already exists in the non-physical. So this is like classic manifesting stuff. So you wash your hair, lather your body with intention, with pleasure. The key is feeling really good. That raises your vibration. The final step is important. Move your water to the coldest possible temperature, as you're already really filling your entire body head to toe with this cold water. So you're shocking yourself with the cold water. Take 3 to 8 conscious breaths. This hot to cold shift really shifts you and matches with the belief. So yeah, I don't really think this specifically does anything, but just kind of trying to set your mind to more positive thoughts and to be a better person and to work on your limiting beliefs. And then if you believe that it works, I think that is actually the real reason it works. But again, like I said, it could be you're just shifting anyway and you just blamed it on the shower, so to speak. Could you put the link about the shower thing in the chat? Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, so this is just like the Daily Mail story on it. Here we go. Boink. Okay, that should be in there now. There you go. Good idea. So yeah, interesting. It's just interesting to see this kind of, looks like young people, they've got their own little spins on it and stuff. But they're basically describing classic personal Mandela effects, you know? So I've been thinking, people have to be noticing this stuff. Oh yeah, the YouTube hiding of the thumbs down. That's just so low. It's just so obvious. So, for eons we had the thumb up, thumb down options. You've got money bags voting videos. So why would they suddenly now, after all this time, remove the downvote button? And they didn't remove it. I can still see all my downvotes. So they claim they're doing it for me, but they're not, because I can still see if you downvote me. Not that I have a big problem. There's only a few, and I really don't care. But it's just weird that they did that after all this time. Except the one thing that's very interesting is certain videos, ones that are supporting certain narratives, have very interestingly gotten like they'll get like 100,000 downvotes and like 5,000 upvotes. So it's very obvious that these videos are not popular. So they can block the comments, but they couldn't block the downvotes. And so you're like, you think maybe the media makes it look like this narrative is really popular, and then you go and see this video has 100,000 downvotes, and you're like, wait a minute. This person is super not popular. It kind of breaks the spell. You see that he's not popular. And so they've eliminated that, basically. And a lot of people think that's why, and I do too. I'm using the Return YT Dislike web browser add-on for now. Interesting. So yeah, they can still see that. I can still see the downloads on my video. Return YT Dislike web browser add-on. That's interesting. I do think it'll deter people from even bothering to download or to downvote, though, because now they know that it can't be seen by the majority. However, if this Newsweek thing that you have just mentioned here very wisely, what is the YouTube dislike extension and how does it work? So you can put it back in. You can now see the number of dislikes the video has on YouTube once again, but you need to download a separate browser extension. So if this takes over a lot, it might help some, but I have a feeling that it's going to heavily deter downvotes because people are going to think that it's no longer visible and they're going to be too lazy. The dislike button itself still remains intact, and if you negatively react to a piece of content, it will affect your future recommendations. But you cannot see how many other people have used it. Yeah, the display of the total number does not show to you guys, but we, the authors, can still see it. So I'm thinking that if this extension gets really popular and a lot of people can still see the downvotes, and if they continue to be dishing out hordes of downvotes to certain narrative pieces, they would then they can actually just remove the downloads completely from visibility from anybody. I'm sure that there's ways to do that to buy back past the extension. So that may still happen if that extension gets popular enough. Dangerous for heart to do that with sudden cold water. Yeah, that's true if you have heart problems. But if you do have that bad of heart problems, you're probably going to go pretty soon anyway. That'll be one heck of a timeline shift. You might end up being alive again in certain timelines. The chat is about 6 seconds faster than the video. Yeah, there's a slight delay in case there's something that we're supposed to delete. I have it on the shortest possible delay. Lots of people who see it are too scared to talk about it. Yeah, you mean like the dimension shifts. The thing is, with a younger crowd, it seems like it's okay to talk about it. Like, they're not saying, oh, you're crazy. Instead, they're like, ooh, shook. And it's kind of like an exciting little drama thing for them. So there kind of seems like a lot of them are pretty open to talk about it. It's kind of like when I was younger, if you talked about ghosts, you were a nut. And now, like, It's on regular TV all the time, and people talk about it all the time, and it's really not that big a deal. Have any of you seen the White House dislikes of the official White House channel? Yes, it wasn't flattering to say the least. Yeah, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. It was just getting worse. And then people would, not only would the downloads be like really high, but then that started going viral. They go, hey, look at the downloads in the White House. Look at the downvotes on this video by so and so. And so that was going viral. So, and then more people would go there and downvote because their attention was brought to it. So it was, one of the remaining few ways that you could see the real popular opinion. So that's why I think they removed it. Oh yeah, the latest Twitter thing. So Twitter recently announced, was it just a few days ago? The whole story was interesting. So the CEO of Twitter quit like on Monday, and then on Tuesday they already had a new CEO. So first of all, you don't interview, pick, and agree on, and then instate a CEO in one day, and then have the CEO then announce a giant new scheme for their moderation. So there's no way that all happened. Like, they must have known that guy was quitting. Maybe he was forced out. Probably over this policy he maybe wasn't willing to do. They already had a guy lined up. The policy must have been in the works already. There's no way that they would come up with, vote on, and agree on a sweeping policy like that on the first day of work. So this new guy comes in, and immediately on his first day, was it a she? I think it was a she. It is announced that Twitter is no longer going to allow videos of regular people without their permission. And so that's all tricky, because then they have this vague thing, well, they might allow it if it's for the social good. Like, I don't know, like, it kind of sounds like then if it's some kind of popular person and then they follow the narrative for the social good, then you can have it. But if you don't follow the narrative, that's really what it kind of sounds like. They're basically coming up with another excuse to delete your stuff. Because how are you going to prove you have the permission of anybody to post their stuff? How can you even indicate? So yeah, it just like... They didn't have enough excuse to delete anything with the disinfo thing. They had another one. I'm really wondering what they think they're going to have to delete. There's probably some new category of stuff that they want to start deleting that they feel this will cover. So as we start to hear what gets deleted, then we'll know what those things are. So anyways, I'm pretty much done. I think I've covered everything. It was kind of quiet. You guys didn't have that much either. Salt, moon. So good find to, oh, you know what? I did not give credit to who found that timeline shifters thing. So that was on Retconned, that article about the TikTokers, and it was found by requirement exact 7990. That's the username. Requirement exact 7990. So good find. Requirement exact 7990. Thank you very much. Camels. Yeah, that's it. I got everything now. It's yeah, nothing's yours. Well, I don't know. We'll see how this spins out, because we'll just have to, you're just going to have to keep going down the middle. We're like almost 2 years into this whole virus thing. And I mean, we're doing all right. There's definitely concerning things, and some people lost jobs and things, but there's other jobs available, and most of us are doing pretty good. And I'm looking at like the death rate, and I know people who died, but almost everybody I know that died in the last 2 years did not die of the Rona. So when this first came out, we're like, oh my God, a pandemic is going to kill everybody. But that hasn't happened. And so now, like, oh my God, it's gonna be the new Nazi New World Order. Well, 2 years and we're still here and still clanking around. I think we'll get through it. We'll get through it. It's not going to be perfect, but it's not going to be the worst. It's just we're going to go down the middle, and we're going to find our routes around problems, and we'll make it. I saw an article, non-Emmy related, talking about Linus dropping his blanket in the Christmas story, and apparently no one remembered it. I do remember him losing his blanket, actually. Wasn't there one where he loses his blanket for a while and then finds it again? Or they found it for him or something, but I do remember something like that. My opinion on the Bible changes is that there's Bible changes. I don't think I really know beyond that exactly what's behind it, though. But I know for sure it was judge not lest ye be judged. I looked that one up before, and it was exactly as I said it, and it is not that anymore. And there's other changes. I mean, there's some where I can't swear to, but I know that at least some of them changed. Why, how, what it all means, I really can't say. I really don't know. And also, we kind of assume that all the changes are bad, or all are good, or all are neutral. Maybe there's more than one reason for the changes. So anyway, be very careful about using the euphemisms for stuff like the arm pokety pokes, because we don't want the fact checkers in here complaining, because of course we would never go against the narrative of pokety poking like everybody in the world is good, right, people? Of course, fact checkers. Millions were murdered. There's less traffic under more. I don't know. I mean, people were murdered. They're just out of the timeline. It's very fishy to me. Like I said, I've known people who died, but not like only one person that I even know as a real human. Not like someone really close to me, but I have met them and I know that they were a real human. One person died of the big C is the official definition, but this person was given remdesivir, which doesn't have the world's best reputation either. But then I know several people died of like cancer and a heart attack. So yes, and so that's, just only, and those people are closer to me. They people live around here. And there's a couple online that died of cancer. And they did not get the pokety poke, so it wasn't caused by the pokety poke. So I'm looking at the overall death rate, and a lot of people have left the timeline, but it wasn't the C, nor was it the pokety poke. If you don't do Christmas, just pray to have a bigger pool of prayers. I think prayer is a really good thing. As long as you keep it positive and loving. Don't pray that your neighbor has a car accident. I've said that before. Just keep it really positive and try to work on that. Call on all the good thing that keeps the universe together. Whatever you want to call it. I do think it really does help. What does prayer do? So when you pray, you first acknowledge that there is a solution that's possible. So you acknowledge there's a solution to your issues. You acknowledge that it's possible to get it somehow. Those two things alone, I think, might be really good. Third option, you're generally sending positive vibes into the universe. You're having a positive feeling. I think that's good. Third of all, I do not know this, but I kind of get the feeling that you might have to contribute part of the energy to get help. Like there might be kind of a bridge process that's necessary. Like you've got to ask and be willing. Like there's always a saying, you can't force help on people. They have to be working with you or it won't work. And that might work even at a spiritual level. So the fourth thing I'm not sure on, but I just have that feeling. But you think about all that stuff, and probably additional things like the mindset that you put yourself in, and being a little more humble, and trying to be more spiritual, and all that stuff. When you do prayer, there's a certain mindset that I think might be really good for people and the world. So that's why I'm a kind of a big fan of it now. Focusing your mind on the goal. Yeah. And what you want, you have to clarify what you would like. I think that helps a lot too. Just that clarification. Okay, this is, you have to sort through your mind. What do I really want? Sorting through, clarifying, those kind of things. There's a lot of good things about prayer. And the positivity of it, I think, really drives away a lot of negative influence. It just seems like whenever you feel like really negative, like kind of assaulted by the negative thoughts, if you can really just kind of put your faith and hope and positive thoughts into prayer, it kind of drives those off. They just can't exist in the same space with that kind of energy. So I think there's just a lot of really good things about it. Rough to get vibing when the world is so wicked and disturbing, especially when I'm located alone, surrounded by negativity. Yeah, I do think we're basically this is level 2 of the video game. The old timelines were level 1, and now everything is harder, faster, more. The enemies come harder, and we got to up our game. We've got to learn more strategies, be more on our game, because it's harder now, but it's still doable. But you might have to really work on it a little bit more attention on it. Ed McMahon never did the $1 million checks. Yeah, that's a classic Mandela. And with people not even considering a better world could even be possible, praying and or meditating can get them to at least consider that and send the energy towards it, consciously or not. Yeah, it's a different mindset, and I think it's a lot healthier one. As long as you keep it positive, And, just because you pray doesn't mean you don't contribute anything else on your end, I mean, like, I want to... please let me get a job, blah, 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 but you still can go out and look for a job, God helps those who help themselves kind of thing. But, why not pull every string? Do the prayer, do the work that you think might help from a more practical level, synergy. Pull on all the strings that might work. Records from my own screw-ups from past drunken stupidity, kind of feel trapped in the wreckage. Okay, but this is why I like prayer. First of all, and the spiritualists will say this too, make a space in your mind that there are solutions. I mean, you might not be able to think about it, but think of them, but they are out there. I have wiggled out of problems I never thought I would wiggle out of. I did not see a way out of it. The universe showed me that there were ways. Then there's probably 100 ways that you can't think of that could get you out of that mess. They're out there, okay? So maybe you don't see it, but just pray for the general solution. You don't have to understand all the details. The universe can sort that mess out. There are ways out. So that's step 1. Make space in your mind that there are solutions, and they can be obtained. You may not know how exactly all the details, but you don't have to know all the details. The universe can figure that mess out for you, and easily. Luckily, the universe is way more skillful than we are at solving problems. So it's doable. And when you pray, you're accepting there is a way. and things can help you and solutions can be found. But the other thing I think to do is to kind of figure out what you're doing to hold yourself back, So you're probably moving forward because you're stepping out of the wreckage and stuff. But even the feeling of being trapped is kind of a trap in itself. Try to think of more freeing thoughts. Doing better. Look at your progress is always a really good one. Sometimes I feel like I'm not moving forward, and then I review, okay, last year I was here, but now I'm here. And 2 years ago I was down there. So progress is happening. I will continue the progress. Those kind of things. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. But, you just step by step, get a little better. I'm French and I remember the English dilemma spelling. Yep. I don't come from the dilemma timeline. I know it's a very popular one, but it was always dilemma for me. Risk has new continents. There's a Mandela. Okay, I never played that game, so I don't know, but if you say so. Steven Seagal has always been Steven Seagal now. That just looks stupid. Yeah, I do remember Seagal. Everyone will have to prove the health everywhere. Well, we'll see. We'll see, won't we? I think there's going to be solutions. Some of the stuff's getting blocked in court. There's still job openings in the U.S. Might not be so easy in Austria. Some people are leaving Australia. Just remember, even if you look back, even Germany under Hitler eventually got better. So it was horrible, horrible times. But a lot of people, a large chunk of Germany got through those times and lived to see better times. So even when it looks totally bleak, you can still get through it. Main issue, I don't have the money to make major changes, trapped in a house with negative people. Okay, but you know what? Okay, so there's even I, who don't even know your situation, could think of different things. First of all, you might find a better job, or you might get more money, or you might find a really good deal where you can move to where people are nicer. Maybe it won't cost that much, or maybe you'll find out that, you get this $2,000 from something, or you'll find a new money-making strategy to make money on the internet, or who the heck knows? I mean, there's 100 solutions. That is not even that much of a jam. And certainly I've been in jams like that or worse. So you're stuck with a bunch of negative people, so that you're going to have to work really hard to be less negative. Change your energy so that you don't fit in that environment anymore. You'll get popped out of it when you're ready. So what I've kind of found is that I will be stuck somewhere until I learn the lesson that situation is trying to teach me. And I cannot get the hell out until I learn that lesson. And once I learn that lesson, the universe will kick me out in a hot minute. Done. Finally, I'm done. So that's what I would say when you're stuck somewhere and you're stuck is, what do you got to do to get out? A lot of times there's some kind of energetic change that you got to make. And as soon as you make it, you will be out of there. Learning how to not argue with those people, learning how to separate the negativity. There's always something. Yeah, you may be in a different mental state by the time you get what you ask for. I think you kind of have to be. You're going to have to shift, and prayer can be good for that because it is a shifting of a mental state. But there's a point where you get it. Suddenly you go, okay, I get it. This is, this was causing me all this pain and suffering. And you finally figure out how to move past that a little bit. there was like this woman at work, this young girl. She was like that. She, I used to work at this place where the boss was a huge jerk, and he was extra mean to her because she was nice and she'd put up with it. And I watched her over the months, had a real tough time of it. And this was back when you couldn't just quit and get another job because the economy was so bad. She finally got to this place where she just stopped worrying about it. And she, like, the boss would be mean to her, and you could see that she just decided she didn't care, and he would try to make her feel bad, and she just refused to feel bad. She's just like, whatever, okay. And he would complain that she was too slow, and she'd go, okay, sorry. And you could see that in her mind, she had already decided she wasn't really all that sorry. She did her best, and she was done. And the boss just kind of gave up harassing her because it wasn't working. He wanted her to feel bad, and she refused to feel bad. She just like shrugged, okay, and then the boss's wife started really liking her, because she was a nice girl, and suddenly the boss's wife decided that girl was really cool. And the boss's wife started haranguing the boss to quit bugging this poor girl. So suddenly she was not being harassed at work anymore because A, the boss had given up, and B, if he did try anything, his wife would go after his hide. So suddenly her whole position at work shifted quite dramatically. She got a lot of cushy jobs because the wife demanded, I want her to do that. And then she suddenly got this great job offer that paid twice as much in the field that she really wanted to be in, which was more artistic. And so she quit, but it was right after she made that energetic shift. She basically toughened up, learned how to just not worry about stuff. And I was actually really impressed because I was trying to get to her point, and she was only like freaking 18. And I'm like, damn, she learned that thing faster than I did. And I kind of made it eventually, but I don't think I made it shift as well as she made. But I made enough to get out of that job. And it was a similar thing for me too. I suddenly got this situation where I could make money on the side, and then I was able to quit. And it kind of fell in my lap, I might add, too. Because I was pretty screwed there for a while. I didn't really have, many skill sets. And the skill set I did have, there was no work in that industry. And I was working for this crap job with a crap boss. And it was almost impossible to find work. And then suddenly, boom, But that was the thing. I basically had to learn the lessons of that. Stuff sucks, but when things suck, that's when you learn way more. I mean, it's like I never want to have to deal with that again, but you learn a lot when things suck, because it's so unpleasant that you get to the point where, like, what do I got to do to get out of this? You just suddenly become really, really willing to do whatever is necessary, even if it's outside your comfort zone, to just end it, to just get out of it. So a lot gets done by pain, unfortunately, which I hate, but tomorrow, I love you tomorrow, you're only a day away. Really, it's now you're always a day away? I do remember you're only a day away. Tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. Let's check that one out. That's interesting. You're always, I'll type in yours. Lyrics. You're always a day away. Yeah, it was you're only a day away. Let's check out all these lyrics here. Bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Gosh, I don't know if I remember all these lyrics. So I'll come out tomorrow. Yeah, it is you're always a day away. I don't see any other option. It was totally your own. It was you're only a day away. That's interesting. So now you're always a day away. So you're only a day away makes it sound like it's coming soon, but you're always a day away makes it like it's never coming. It's kind of more like it ain't coming because it's always a day away. It's kind of a whole different feeling to it. That is interesting. So you could say that's kind of miserable making because you're never going to get to the day when the sun will come out because you're always a day away. But on the flip side, it kind of fits with a lot of this Buddhist meditation stuff where you live in the now kind of thing. Deal with the now instead of living in the future. So, yeah, interesting. That's a good Mandela. I totally remember that. Tomorrow lyrics. I'm going to write that one down. Turns to always. Yes, good find. Sometimes you have to go down into the darkness to find your path. Definitely. And I'll tell you, it's a long path. You just, you get to a point and from before, this looks like a really high pinnacle, but then you get to here and you're like, wow, I could go way up here. And in some ways it's good because you've jumped out and you think that's as best you can get. And then you realize there's a lot way to go. And sometimes you're just like, how high is this mountain, man? Yeah, one foot in front of the other. That's all you can really do. But it works. The one thing good is as you make progress, you get a little more energy in you because as you sort of slough off the old baggage, all that baggage you carry, it takes so much energy to carry it. And as you manage to drop some of it, then you get a little lighter and then you don't feel as beat all the time. You don't feel as beat up. So yeah, just one piece at a time. You'll find the way, but I totally recommend that. Try to figure out what lesson you have not learned that you can learn from the situation. And if you can change your energy, things can change really quick. And you'll look back and you'll see it. You'll okay, I needed to learn this lesson. And once I learned it, then I moved on. Anyways, I definitely will send out prayers to you that you will see the route inside. It's funny, these things, because it's like I won't see it, and then I'll finally see it, and then I'll be like, duh, the evidence was there all along, but I just couldn't see it. It's just weird how that is. All right, anyway, it's getting late. I managed to yap forever, so it's about time for me to head out. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thank you for that super chat. That was very nice of you. Very much appreciate it. That was what was the name? It was Sagittarius Arm Person. Very much appreciate that. Take care, everybody. This is Think Good Thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.